Today's video, we go over my favorite soft tissue mobility techniques for the shoulder. Get the brachial plexus. So Bang et al., way back in 2000, showed that soft tissue strategies like massage can be helpful for folks who have shoulder pain. Trouble is, I just cherry-picked that one article out of a whole lot looking at manual therapies for shoulder pain. What I will say is a lot of the evidence is mixed on this topic. However, I still like to use manual therapies like soft tissue mobilization for a variety of reasons. So for one, I think it can be helpful for folks to have pain, and for two, it can be helpful for reducing stiffness as well as improving range of motion. Just what I will say is a lot of these manual therapies are generally short-term in nature, so I think it's very important you always include some sort of exercise program on top of your soft tissue strategies. With that being said, today we're going to go over my favorite soft tissue strategies for my patients in the shoulder. First, we're going to talk about the periscapular muscles. So what muscles are we talking about? Basically, anything that's going to be between the thoracic spine and the scapula. So we're talking about the thoracic spine paraspinals. We're also talking about the rhomboids. We're talking about the low trap, the mid trap, as well as the upper trapezius. And lastly, you have the levator scapulae, which is going to travel from here up to the bottom of the skull. So make sure you get a little bit of lotion. We're going to put the lotion on those muscles. Make sure your patient doesn't have some sort of allergy. And the first technique I like to try is just cupping. So we're taking a cup, we're going to squeeze it and place it on the patient's upper back, on those paraspinals. From here we just slide. If you leave it for a long period of time, it can make those kind of octopus bites. I just don't like that quite as much. I prefer slide cupping. I don't have a great reason for that. The other piece we can do is we can leave the cup right here and use a tool, instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization, and I'm going to try to push the tissue away from the cup. So essentially you're anchoring the tissue down with the cup, and then you're pushing the tissue away from the cuff. And basically we can mobilize all the tissues I just talked about. So thoracic, paraspinals, coming up to the upper trapezius, a little bit of levator scapulae, all the way through. I also like to utilize my fists to mobilize these structures. So basically making a fist here, be careful not to go to the end range of motion at the joints. I like to try to push my fingers up against my palm to make sure I'm not aggravating my own joints over the course of time. Once I have my fist like this, pressure down to the patient's muscles, and I'm basically just sliding across the paraspinals into the upper trapezius. I'm also using my opposite side hand to help out a little bit, so it's not just my right side arm doing all the work, my left side is contributing, sliding back through, maybe somewhere between about 5 and 10 repetitions. Now, if I find a particular area where the patient says, yes, that's very sore, that feels just like my symptoms, I may actually apply some ischemic compression to that. What that means is I'm using my fingertips here, and I'm finding that area where the patient says, oh yeah, that feels a lot like my symptoms. And from here, I just apply pressure right down into that knot or that spot that reproduces symptoms. I hold this until I either feel the muscle relaxing a little bit or about 45 seconds or so. I can also try some cross-friction massage right over that area. So let's say that knot is really where the patient is experiencing their symptoms. I push on it. Yes, that feels like you're reproducing my symptoms. I can go right on this and I can find, let's say, levator scapulae or that knot, and I start off of it and I slide onto it and right off of it, right? Just like that. They call this cross friction is because you think about the levator scapulae runs like this. I'm going across these fibers. And what I will say is that this can be a higher level mobilization, and it can be a little bit irritating for some folks. Usually it's not the place where I start with my treatments, but if the patient really likes deep pressure, this is a good intervention for them. So why would you target these periscapular muscles right through here? So generally speaking, when folks have shoulder pain or shoulder stiffness, they may actually compensate a little bit through the scapula when they bring their arm overhead. So if you think about abduction of the shoulder, about 1/3 of that motion is supposed to come from the shoulder blade, 2/3 from the shoulder joint. If the shoulder joint is stiff or painful, oftentimes more of that motion is going to come from the shoulder blade. Because of that, the muscles that control upward rotation or motion at the shoulder blade may become a little bit sore, stiff, painful. Pretty common for folks with shoulder pain to complain of some upper trap tightness. So we can try to reduce that some with these soft tissue strategies.
To go along with this video, I have a free cheat sheet for you. It is an evidence-based cheat sheet for rotator cuff related pain. I'll give you all the knowledge to go from a beginner to a master understanding rotator cuff related pathology. We go over the prevalence of these conditions, as well as the anatomy. We talk about the difference between tendonitis and tendinosis. We chat about risk factors increase your likelihood of getting rotator cuff tendinopathy and tears. We talk about the clinical presentation of this disorder and also which tendons are most commonly involved. We talk about the different stages of pathology and whether or not the rotator cuff tear heals over the course of time. Next, I give you the bullet points about rehabilitation expectations. We round out the PDF with some surgical guidelines, which your patients should go on to get surgery for rotator cuff tears. So I'm going to leave a link in the description, in the show notes. Again, this is 100% free. Go ahead and download this right now.
Next place I like to target is the posterior cuff. So what am I talking about right here? We have our scapula, just like so. So we have the inferior angle, superior angle right up through here. And then right in this section is going to be the infraspinatus, like so. So the posterior cuff is someone who's limited into internal rotation, can sometimes be stiff, can be limiting with that range. So we can apply a mobilization to try and improve that. The other piece is that your infraspinatus is very, very active during pressing exercises. Most of the patients I work with, they like pressing in the gym. They like bench press, they like overhead press. Infraspinatus does a lot of this work. So if you evaluate their shoulder, it's painful, you start poking around in some of these tissues, they'll often say, wow, I feel really, really sore in this area. And sometimes if you poke on some of these tissues, they'll say, that actually reproduces my familiar symptoms. If that's the case, I like to try to target this area. We can utilize cups on the posterior cuff as well. So I just squeeze, put it on the patient's skin and let go. And from here, I can slide right along the muscle, just like so, treating that infraspinatus. I can also leave the cup, anchoring the skin down, and I can utilize the tool to press the tissues away from the cup. So basically I'm anchoring down the tissues with the cup and I'm pushing away with my tool, okay? I can also apply some ischemic compression. So I like to utilize a towel because I feel like it helps me stick to the skin a little bit better. So what I'll do is drape the towel over top of the patient's shoulder and I start to poke around to try to find tender spots. And if I find a spot where the patient says, yes, this feels a lot like my pain, I might sink some pressure directly into that spot until the area relaxes a little bit, or about 45 seconds or so. If the patient really likes more aggressive manual therapies, I can try a cross friction massage. So essentially I find that knot, I push towards the front of it, I slide over top of it, I go right back over it, back and forth and over again. Just keep in mind this is a little bit more aggressive and sometimes not the best place to start with patients. We can also use a dummy thumb to treat the posterior cuff. So from here I'm gonna have Mike reach up towards the ceiling. What I'm gonna do is use my thumb right on the insertion portion of the infraspinatus. It's a little tough to find it because if someone has a big delt, it's actually probably deep to that. I like to go right towards the back of the posterior delt so I know that I'm right on the infraspinatus. Now I'm gonna take my opposite side hand, I'm gonna put pressure right into my thumb. So essentially I'm not pushing with my thumb to create this force, I'm using my opposite side hand into my thumb. It's gonna save a lot of stress on that thumb over the course of time. So my instructions for the patients are, when you feel my pressure, I want you to slowly reach your arm down towards the floor. So I put my pressure right here, press my opposite side, go ahead and reach slowly down towards the floor. And I'm gonna slide all the way down the infraspinatus, right? Until I get to the very end, to the medial border of the scapula, and then come right back up again. Now patients will often say, right towards that very end range is when they feel sorest. So you can either spend a little more time or a little less time there based on the patient's tolerance. Good. Another thing that really helps with this technique is that as you apply your pressure and the patient is bringing their arm down towards the floor, just make sure you take the patient's phone out and have them hit the like button on this video. Maybe on your second repetition or so, you come back down, hit that subscribe button. You know, maybe just continue watching the video, help that algorithm out, right? Just keep doing it. I'm also a big fan of using instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization with a handlebar on the posterior cuff. So we're gonna have Mike and just bring his arm overhead. You just have to remember that you just change the orientation of the shoulder blade a little bit. So if you're trying to work down through here, you're probably not hitting the right muscles. So when I take my handlebar, I want to go onto the infraspinatus, right? So if the scapula is now sitting, these are my borders, I'm just working right through this area here. And I feel like I can get a lot of pressure on this area, and patients usually give me some good feedback when I do this one. Next area we're going to target are going to be the lats and the teres major. So the lats and the teres major generally limit overhead range of motion, so it's a great thing to target in your athletes who are trying to get better overhead mobility. Now, we can target two muscles. We just said the lats and teres major. Let's have you bring this arm right overhead here, Mike. So your teres major attaches from the humerus down to the inferior angle of the shoulder blade. So essentially, if we're targeting right through this region, we're going to hit the teres major. Now, the lats travel further down. They go all the way down to the spine, right? And And one of the first things I like to do for the teres major and the lats is use a handlebar. So I come right here and I go right along these muscles, and I actually don't go below the inferior angle of the scapula. Now why is this? Because you got a bunch of ribs down here and we're basically going to xylophone that area and it's not going to feel very good. So I would only use the handlebars on the teres major. If I want to try to go a little bit lower and tackle the lats, I'll utilize a cup. So I make sure I have a little bit of lotion on this whole area, and I'll go down just because the lats attach all the way down the bottom in the lumbar spine. And then when I utilize my cup, I can go over the ribs and I can mobilize the lats a little further down. Just keep in mind, Mike's doing a really good job, but this can be really sensitive and tender for folks. So make sure you're not using a bunch of pressure initially, but if the patient's tolerating it well, we can go all the way down through the ribs to the lower back and treat the entire lat because it's a very big muscle. I'm also a big fan of a pin and stretch technique for the lats and the teres major. So have your patient lie on their side, and I'm gonna take this arm and bring it straight up towards the ceiling. And then from here, I can move the arm, or the patient can move the arm a little bit. I'm gonna take my knuckles right here, I'm gonna go right into the teres major, and then once the patient feels the pressure, my instructions are reach overhead. And as the patient reaches overhead, I slide along the side of the shoulder blade, right down the teres major, come right back up again. I can do this without assistance of that arm, so Mike is doing all the work. And I'm also taking my opposite side hand and I'm helping with my stability arm here, helping to push down into the side of the shoulder blade, mobilizing the lat and the teres major. This is one of my absolute favorites for this area. We can also perform a pin and stretch of the lats and the teres major in supine. So I'm gonna have Mike reach up towards the ceiling here. And what I'm gonna do is take my fist and put it right into the lats and the teres major, right? Oftentimes I like to use my body. We're having Mike turn a little bit just so the camera can see a little bit better, but usually I have the patient right to the side. And I'll put my elbow right into my hip, so then my force is actually coming from my hip. And once I have my pressure in this area, I'm gonna have Mike reach fully overhead, and I just slide along the lats and the teres major slowly as Mike reaches overhead. Let's go one more repetition, Mike. I sink my pressure into the lat and the teres major, and then coming overhead fully. Excellent, great job, Mike. The next area we're going to target is going to be the subscapularis. Now, if someone is limited into external rotation, you can try to do some manual therapies for the subscap. If you're evaluating the patient and poking on the subscap and it does reproduce their familiar symptoms, it makes sense you might want to treat this in the session. Now, I think the tricky part is actually finding the subscap. Generally, I like to use a towel with this just because it's an armpit, so they can be a little stinky, a little sweaty. And the other part is that when you put your fingers into someone's armpit, it may slide a bit. If you use a towel, it reduces some of that slide and also reduces the amount of fingernails you get into their skin, which can be a little uncomfortable. So if I lift up the arm, the first thing I'm gonna see is the lat and the teres major, right? And as I press into the teres major, as I go a little more medial, I'll actually roll off of that. And once I roll off of that, if I go deeper, first muscle I'm gonna find is going to be the subscapularis right through there. So I wanna take my towel, just like this. Again, find my lat, slide right off of it. Now I want to go a little bit deeper into the subscapularis. And I am now pressing the subscapularis up against the scapula. Now I can do a variety of things. So you're already noticing I'm doing a circular motion. So what I'll do is I'll find the tissue and I'll draw some circles on it. The other thing that you can do in this position is relax the elbow down, press it on the subscap, pin, and then relax here, Mike, and then externally rotate. So what I'm doing is I'm pinning the subscapularis down and I'm externally rotating. So it's a pin and stretch maneuver. Those fibers of the subscap are going to be going underneath of my fingers as I go into external rotation. Next area to target would be the pecs. So this is going to be the pec major as well as the pec minor that's deep, right? So if you have a patient that's going to be limited with horizontal abduction, also external rotation, or overhead mobility, then the pecs might be a player. So you can try treating this and see if it changes things, right? So just as in the other structures, just as in the other areas, we can perform cupping as well as tool work to this area. So I take the cup, put on the pec, and I slide back and forth. Just keep in mind this is a little bit of a smaller area, so you might want to utilize a smaller cup. The other thing you can do, just as in the other areas, is we can pin some tissue down, and then we can push the tissue away utilizing a tool. So instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization, we can slide some more, then push some of the tissue away from the cup, right? The other thing we can try is utilizing your fist, right? So I make a fist, I make sure I protect my joints, not going to end range of motion, and then I press right past the deltoid, and I slide all the way down the pec fibers across, just like so. We can also use a pin and stretch for the pec minor and the pec major. So I'm going to have my patient just have their arm by their side. I'm going to press onto the pec, and once I start having some pressure on the pec, I'm going to externally rotate and slide at the same time. So we're massaging those muscles as we're moving them. I can also have Mike do this on his own. So when you feel my pressure, go ahead and externally rotate, bring that hand back, and I can slide all the way down the pecs, right? Come on back for me. The other thing you can do if you want to target the pec minor is you can feel for the coracoid. So that's deep right in this area. That's the coracoid right here. I usually like to utilize either my fist, my fingers, or a towel right past the coracoid. So I feel the coracoid and I go a little bit medially, a little bit inferiorly, because that's where the pec minor fibers go. I put some pressure down here, then I have you externally rotate against me. So as I externally rotate, what's happening is that the scapula is posteriorly tipping. And what happens is that brings the coracoid away from where the pec minor inserts. So I'm stretching the pec minor, and I'm massaging it at the same time. If we want to kick things up a notch, we can also target the pec minor and do more motion at the shoulder. So let's have you bring your arm up here, Mike, and relax as much as you can. So if your patient's not relaxing, it's going to be a little tough to find the coracoid, so make sure they're relaxing. So I dig a little bit deeper and I find the coracoid and I go just medial of that and I press straight down. And from here, I'm going to have Mike push against me. So try to bring your arm overhead, yep, and right down to the floor. Good, and then relax. So basically, this is reciprocal inhibition. So if Mike is pushing against me this way, he's activating all the shoulders on the back of the shoulder, or activating all the muscles on the back of the shoulder, and it forces all the muscles on the front of the shoulder to relax. So go ahead and push against me. As soon as he pushes, I feel all those muscles relax. It makes it a little bit easier for my fingers to get in there and target that pec minor, right? We can also do the same exact thing for the pec major. So I utilize my fist again. We'll come up towards the ceiling. And Mike, when you feel my pressure, push back against me again, and I'm going to slide all the way down those pec major fibers. And I can try a variety of different motions. So I can go out to the side, go ahead and give me a T. Very good. I can also have you go more overhead. And you can kind of pick the direction where your athlete is limited with this strategy. The next area we can target is going to be the anterior delts. Now, why would we target the anterior delts? Well, two major reasons. I think for one, if your athlete is limited with extension, so think at the bottom of a bench press or the bottom of a muscle up where you need a lot of shoulder extension, this might be an area you can target. The other thing to keep in mind is your anterior delt is going to be extremely active during things like bench press, overhead press, all your lateral raises. So it just gets a ton of work in the gym. Sometimes it gets beat up, and patients feel a little bit better when you work on it, right? So it's pretty easy to work. You just got to make sure you find it, right? And essentially you have your delt sits right through here. You have different portions, so anterior, medial, posterior. I tend to spend a lot more time on the anterior portion, especially if you're limited with an extension. So pretty easy to just grab a cup, put it right in this area. You might need a medium to moderate size cup to a smaller size cup to get this area, depending on how big the athlete is. And you're sliding right over the anterior delt just like so. You can also get a tool involved, so I can pin down the tissue here, hold on to that, and I can slide the tissue away from the anchor point. And I can go a little further down. Same thing, now in reverse, going up just like so, right? I can also utilize my thumb. I love this strategy, but it's also a little tough on your thumbs. So get off a little bit of lotion so your fingers don't slide too much. And I can take my thumb here, I can press into the delt, and I can go all the way back up towards the top. I feel like you get a nice pressure across the entire deltoid. Another strategy you can use, let's have you come off the edge a little bit here, Mike, is you can use a little bit of reciprocal inhibition. So let's have you straighten out this arm here. I'm going to take my thumb, I'm going to put it right on the delt, and then as soon as I press on the delt, I want you to push down like you're extending your arm. So go ahead and press. Good, press, 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 press. So I'm sliding along that muscle as Mike presses into extension. So as he presses into extension here, these muscles become active. These muscles have to relax, allows my thumb to get in, and now we're extending the shoulder joint while we're mobilizing those tissues. So do you really need soft tissue strategies in your patients to have shoulder pain? Probably not. I just think it might be a nice adjunct, and you can critically reason as to why you're using certain mobilizations. The patient's really buying into it, they really like it, if you really believe in it and they're getting a positive outcome, might be a reason to continue. But again, I work with patients every day of the week where we don't do any soft tissue strategies whatsoever, right? Okay, so if soft tissue strategies aren't the be-all, end-all, what is? Well, if there's one thing to pick, it'd probably be exercise and your patients have shoulder pain. I have a video for you, put a link right in the corner, goes over my favorite beginner exercise for folks that have shoulder pain in the gym. So go ahead and click on that link right up there, and I'll see you on that video.